philosophical issue. Is Luffy actually free, given that he has a fruit, right, that makes him want to be free, but the fruit is controlling him to want to be free? So it's like a philosophical kind of loop there. I was like, wait, actually, it's like a illogical trap there. I'm not sorry, but yeah, episode is hype, man. Fight is hype. And probably some subscribers in this video, but seriously, this is the biggest plot hole in One Piece. Did Gear 5 ruin One Piece? So, now when the hype has been down, right? It's been like a few hours the episode dropped. I think I'm gonna be the only YouTuber saying that it was shit, actually. I'm just kidding guys. What I'm referring to is, of course, the Gomu Gomu no Mi being fake, right? So, for full transparency, we already had this discussion, right, to some extent, when the chapter dropped, right? And obviously I'm a manga reader, wasn't read the manga, right? I'm anime only, so we had it before, but I think I'll bring up here again right now when the anime is out, right? Let me first say this thing here, right? I like how the power works, you know. I don't mind Luffy having the mask powers, right? I don't mind Luffy turning into the mask, having the whole, oh, I can do this thing, I can do the ice and so on, and it's like everything turns into Looney Tunes. I don't mind that. I don't stress on this point again, right? That I don't mind the actual powers, right? And I keep saying it, but my point is that when the manga dropped, right, the history here, a lot of people hated it, right, for how the actual power works. And every time you said, no, actually, my problem is the Gorosei thing, right? Most people say, oh, you just hate the power. No, I'm not talking about the power itself, okay? So, it's very important here to distinguish between critique of the Gorosei and the fakeness of Gomu Gomu no Mi, and of course then the actual powers, how Nika Nika works, right? So I don't mind too much, right, that Nika is just hilarious, he's ridiculous, and like I said in the reaction part, I like how Nika makes other people also turn into Looney Tunes, right? So he's like, oh, you also have the square thing now, and it's doing fun and so on, because Luffy actually isn't even like fully committed to fighting anymore, I guess, because he's like, haha, this is so fun and so on, yeah. So I don't mind that, no, I'm talking about how the actual Gorosei thing. So what are the actual issues then, right? I feel I have to be this guy, right? Someone has to be the honest YouTuber here, as to be like, you know what? There is some massive issues though with Gear 5. And again, to be a broken record here, my point is not that to be the powers, right? No, it had to do with everything else surrounding it, right? So, first of all, Nika Nika makes Luffy become the chosen one, right? I made a video about that last year, so I'll link below for that. But I want to iterate it over again, right? Because of course I've been thinking about this for a year now, talking about people, right? Seeing the episode again, so on, right? The thing is that because turning into the Nika power, right, means that it's a Zoan. So it being a Zoan is actually a big thing, right? Because now, when it isn't a Gomu Gomu no Mi anymore, which is Paramecia, now it's Zoan instead, that means that straight up, right, that Zoan fruits actually makes you affected, right? Zoan fruits change just the personality. We've already been over how, like, Rob Lucy is more aggressive because he's eaten a carnivore, so on and so on, right? So if you're eating the Hito no human, you know, god model, the freedom god, right? That means that the Zoan fruit is definitely affecting Luffy's personality, right? So I think there is definitely an issue there, arguably the biggest issue of this whole thing, because it is the thing that, I mean, I don't mind it too much. The next point I think is worse actually, but I think for a lot of people this is a struggle, right? Like I said, I've seen it for over a year now, how it makes that Luffy isn't Luffy anymore. You have to, like, is it Nika being Luffy, or is it Luffy being Nika, you know what I mean? Like, is Luffy the one actually in control, or is it Nika? It's probably a mix, right? But basically like being possessed, I suppose, right? He's eaten the... And also, in a way, also comes back to that Joy Boy thing, right? So Nietzsche is like, oh yeah, Joy Boy is back. Well, yeah, because Joy Boy obviously had the same fruit as Nika Nika fruit, which means that they had the same personality, because the fruit makes you become that guy that's anti-government and is very for freedom and it's all laughing and funny. So probably, right, like Joy Boy probably had, if not even the same personality as Luffy, because they have the same fruit, right? And then, of course, it comes back to, well, is Luffy, is Luffy then, you know, like, is he actually himself, or was it always just the fruit controlling everything, which is making him do what he wants, right? And it's an interesting point of it too, because there are other characters, generally speaking, that are perhaps also just who they are because of their fruit, right? Like Ener, I say jokingly, but he might be, you know, the thunder god, right? Eat a fruit and it changes your personality, and you become that. And Luffy, of course, becomes happier after eating Nika and so on, right? So I do think there is definitely some worry there. For me personally, and I was negative, but for me personally, I don't mind it that much, but it definitely becomes a little bit of the chosen one, because the Gorosei does explain that, oh, we haven't been able to capture the fruit, right? Because again, the fruit has its own, personality, which they prove here, and it's mentioned earlier too with the Lucy one, but especially this fruit. And it also becomes a little bit like, well, so only Luffy could eat it then because it avoided being eaten by other people. So it's purely like he's the QB or something. It's a little bit like that, right? And last year I definitely compared it to the Chosen One, where it kind of feels like Luffy is turned into Naruto or whatever. Oh, he actually has the Chosen superpower that only he has, and he's like the messiah of pirates or whatever. And it does take away urgency and independency from Luffy. It's an interesting twist, right? Because in a sense, while it's all about being free and freedom, it also means that Luffy isn't free because he's like possessed by a fruit that controls him to make him be free. It's like a perplexing, this is a perplexing philosophical issue. Is Luffy actually free, given that he has a fruit, right, that makes him want to be free, but the fruit is controlling him to want to be free? So it's like a philosophical kind of loop there. I was like, wait, actually, it's like a illogical trap there. Is Luffy free, or is he controlled to think he wants to be free and actually doesn't want to be free and happy and so on? It's very interesting from a philosophy standpoint. But generally speaking, the fruit, of course, does affect his personality, right? So it has changed the storytelling to some extent. Now when we know that Luffy is basically possessed by Nika Nika, right? Rather than just being Luffy eating a Paramisa fruit. But now, guys, let's get into really interesting here. Shishi, or rather, yeah, this is not very good, right? So, I'm just gonna be that guy, right? I don't know. I've been consistent with this since the chapter, right? And I stand by saying it. While I like the Nika Nika power, I think it's cool. I like transformation. I like getting the white hair and all this stuff, right? The Gorosei is a massive plot hole, right? And it hasn't changed, okay? It has not been improved. And I've discussed this thing now for over a year, right? With people on a bunch of different places, right? Whatever, social media and so on, real life, etc., right? And no, the Gorosei is a plot hole, okay? I will stand by saying it. The Gorosei is a plot hole, and it just makes it worse, it just makes it worse, yeah. I'm sorry, but I love One Piece, but this is like One Piece's biggest plot hole. It is one of the biggest plot holes, right? The Gorosei's actions, it makes no sense. So let's break it down, right? The Gorosei knew that the Gomu Gomu no Mi never existed. For 800 years, the government had been trying to get the fruit, right? So they knew it's all fake, right? They punished who's who hardcore, right? Because he failed with the fruit, right? So they really care about this stuff, right? Then this kid suddenly appears having the Gomu Gomu no Mi, right? The rubber ball powers. They know it is fake, and this is the most ridiculous power ever. And so it's anti-government, right? And it's the worst fruit ever for them, basically. And they just ignore Luffy, right? They don't send Annie to kill him in the beginning. Like, imagine they're having a high-level Cipher cool guy for the fruit, right? Why didn't they send Rob Lucy or someone similar to Who's Who to, of course, kill Luffy when he started as a pirate, right? Immediately. Why couldn't they find when he was in East Blue, for that matter? They have all this power, and they lost in East Blue with Shanks. It wasn't even that hard for them to even localize where it is in East Blue either, for that matter. But they didn't go and kill Luffy immediately in the storyline. It's just a massive plot hole. And people will defend it by saying that, no, but it's like, they didn't think he could awaken or something. This doesn't make any sense, because they themselves explain that the fruit is a power of his own, the will of his own, avoiding them and so on. So they basically are explaining that the fruit picks its owner, right? Like they find the chosen one owner, which is Luffy. So they should expect him to awaken, if anything. And also, as a side note, I don't see why it would be so hard to awaken as Nika Nika. It is hard to awaken, I suppose, generally speaking, but they never explain ever why specifically Nika Nika is harder to awaken. It doesn't actually. There is no evidence of it harder to awaken as Nika Nika. It's just generally hard to awaken, right? But this thing is just really annoying, I think, generally speaking, right? Because yes, okay, so they didn't kill Luffy in the million. And let's say they didn't know about the power and so on, but then it directly attacks in his lobby. That's probably the biggest thing, where it feels really, really dumb, because now they clearly knows how his powers work. They clearly know that Luffy is anti-government, right? He has the Nika Nika power. It is just a massive plot hole that they didn't go after Luffy much harder after in his lobby. And they forced up there with Impel Down and so on, you know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. Because eventually they're like, oh yeah, he's basically beating Kaido. We probably have to go and kill him now. They sent an assassin to fight him, right? To kill him at the Kaido fight. They had like years on them to send a CP0 guy to kill him, but now we do it while he's fighting Kaido. Could have done that like 2-3 years earlier, like 20 years earlier than the story started. At best, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I still by saying that. It hasn't changed at all. I know everyone is hyping this episode. Oh my god, Luffy's from someone. And I agree, the actual situation is cool. Of course, just point out the anime makes it better, right? I love the sound effect. The anime makes it better, seeing Luffy transform and just having all that extra animation, right? Countering the alluding to it. I mean, obviously the anime makes it better than the manga, absolutely. Again, though, as I said earlier, I never minded how the powers actually works, right, in the manga either. But certainly they are better in the anime. So I won't say the episode itself is like terrible. No, I quite enjoy it, right? The episode is very enjoyable, very, very, you know, like, oh my god, it's happening and so on. Absolutely, I love the episode. But we have to think about the story a bit, right? I'm sorry, but we have to think about... I want to be this downer guy, but I feel that everyone is hyping up this thing to this massive internet-breaking Gear 5 and so on. But it also is, I think, straight up, right, the biggest plot hole in One Piece. The Gorosei actions makes no sense, right? And that's why I said earlier that Who is like the worst character in One Piece, because Oda's written him as a straight up just dump of information, exposition dump. He's coming like, here's all the info, Jinbei! You know what I mean? And it doesn't make much sense. He's just telling Jinbei all that, doesn't make any sense. But it also tells me that Oda didn't foreshadow Gear 5 as good as he could, right? People always defend, say, oh, but he mentioned the sun god Nika here and this thing and so on. Yeah, but come on. If anything, one massive issue with Gear 5 is that it isn't like foreshadowed as much as usually does, right? And if it's like who was like this kind of, I don't know, like panic into, you know, like foreshadowing from a panic thing. Oh, I need to foreshadow something. Oh, yeah. It felt strange. It felt like who should have done that way earlier, or Jinbei should have known about it. It's weird, okay? I think it's weird. But again, the bigger issue is the actual plot hole, right? Because if we go back to the Gorosei, this is not like defendable, I feel, because the Gorosei are otherwise shown to be incredibly proactive, even as well, right? So they're very, very proactive, and that's probably actually the biggest of the Gorosei, because the Gorosei are so, again, then proactive and everything. I mean that they go before it happens, right? They're like, we have to kill Nika Robin or whatever before Tetsuya. We have to destroy Ohara before they, you know, say the name of the country and so on. Yeah, they're very, very proactive, right? Oh, we tried to get this fruit for so many years and so on. So they suddenly just gave up getting the fruit after Shanks got it temporarily. That doesn't make any sense. And again, then as soon as Luffy appears with the fruit, they just didn't go after him, even though they otherwise are so incredibly proactive. Again, the Buster called, right, Ohara for knowing some stuff. Then this fruit is like basically the anti-government fruit. They know about it, blah, 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 so on. They should have Buster Zipperpool called Luffy immediately, right, when he got his first bounty. That is it, right, because their action doesn't make any sense. And the only defense, again, is that, oh, but maybe, like, they didn't think he was gonna awaken. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, because they have always been very proactive before. Given how they are extremely proactive, why wouldn't they be extremely proactive against their biggest threat, which is Nika Nika? You have to remember again, the Nika Nika is like the anti-government fruit. And so that is the person they should most have Buster called or Cipher 09 Pool assassinated, right? It really should have been. And I'm not sorry, but yeah, episode is hype, man. Fight is hype. I probably lose some subscribers in this video, but seriously, this is the biggest plot hole in One Piece. Yeah, so I'm probably ruffling some feathers with this video, right? But I've been saying this consistently since the chapter dropped right last year. And I will leave a link below for previous videos, right? We discussed this topic, right, at length, right, and different parts of it, and different plot holes and so on. But it is really causing two, again, the main concerns, right? Is Luffy actually controlling the fruit? Is he chosen one? And so on. Right? Two different things, but whatever, you know, Luffy, something like that. And of course, then the massive Gorosei Imusama plot holes of them being incredibly proactive, and suddenly not being proactive with the Nika Nika fruit. And it's even worse, I think, that if Oda added a line to make it sound cool, or they're trying to get it 800 years, you know, that I think is a massive issue, right? Because if they didn't say that, it would be better if he didn't say that, you know. It would be better because it is played off as saying it's a legend even for them. They say, oh, it probably isn't true, this Nika Nika, maybe it's just a lie or whatever, we don't really know. Like, they kind of playing it off a little bit as that, right? But on the same time, they're also then like, we were trying to get it for 800 years. So it would be better if they didn't try to get it. Yeah, honestly, straight up, it would be better storyline if the Gorosei was just shocked, like, oh my god, Nika Nika is real, and they didn't try to get it, you know what I mean? And Who, of course, never had the fruit. That'd be way better, yeah. If Who was some other... He could still be a Liverpool guy, but, you know, and have no relation to the Gomu no Mi or whatever. I think that would be much better, honestly, straight up, right? If these guys didn't know about it, they were like, well, actually, they knew about it as like a legend. Yeah, we heard about this Nika Nika guy, but that can't be real, you know? And they never tried to get the fruit at all. Then I think it would be fine, you know? Yeah, if they never heard about the fruit before, they were like, what, Gomu's fake? Oh shit, it's Nika Nika? Yeah, that'd be much better, right? And the reason the assassin attacked Luffy could have been because they're like, oh, Luffy's gonna win, let's kill him, you know, whatever, yeah. That'd be much better, right? But the whole thing that they knew about the fruit being fake all the time, and then being like, oh, actually, he's awakening, goddammit, it actually happened, yeah, that's just so stupid. That could have been much better if they actually just never tried to get the fruit. If they always thought the Gomu was real, and maybe at this moment, or the last few days, they realized that no, the Gomu, like Emu, is like, actually, the Gomu is probably fake, right, because this thing or something. And honestly, right, it's even weirder that Emu seems to know about the Straw Hat and Joy Boy and everything. Yeah, that makes it even weirder. Last, let's say this thing here, spoiler warning then, if you're anime only, spoiler warning, so now's a manga point, but Emu. The more we learn about Emu, the more this is a plot hole too. Because it really comes off as Emu being 800 years old, right? Knowing about Neferati and all this stuff. So that makes it even worse then, because then Emu should have been even more concerned about the fruit if he actually knows about it, yeah. Because these guys are acting like, oh, the fruit is a legend, so it maybe it won't happen, right? But if Emu seemingly knows everything that happened 800 years ago, then it's like he has to know that the Nika Nika then, or she maybe then, yeah, has to know that Nika Nika is real, right? And isn't just like a myth. It's an actual, factual thing for him. And it really should have been even in this scene if you haven't read a manga, honestly. So it's a really strange thing, and that definitely doesn't help, right? But anyway, guys, what do you guys think? Did Nika Nika ruin One Piece? If you're an anime only, you can, your whole discussion, right? Has Nika Nika ruined it? I do think it definitely puts the biggest plot hole right in one bag. I said it for years. I keep saying it. I won't go back on that. I probably can lose some subs for this video. But I'm just like, isn't this the biggest plot hole in One Piece? It really is, right? And again, the latest year and a half or whatever of the manga hasn't helped at all to resolve the thing. It just made it look worse, honestly. And like I said, every time I have had a discussion now for the last 1.5 years, right? No one has ever managed to present an argument that can defend the Gorosei of the plot hole. And the only defense, right, that Oda will probably explain it later kind of thing. But I have to say, I suppose, that I am worried, because if it's like every mangaka, they fail in the end when it comes to the mystery resolve. Ishiyama, yeah, especially Ishiyama, but Kishimoto and so on too, yeah, they're very bad at ending the mangas, right? Especially when it comes to this like thriller, mystery, who's the true bad guy. We will see, of course, when how Oda explains who Im really is. But I am a little bit like, I just don't think he will ever really motivate this thing. It's just kind of plot armor, right? You know, I think in the end, let's be honest here, I think the Gorosei's failure is plot armor, right? You know? In the end of the day, they were very, very proactive, and then they suddenly weren't proactive, just when it comes to Nika Nika, for some stupid reason. And it's basically plot armor, and their behavior can't really be explained by the storyline. It's just like, that was just bad action of them. I think that's like the end of it, right, honestly. But anyway, guys, hope you guys subscribe, like button, check out the reaction video. Again, I'm liking the episode. The thing, I think it's interesting because I think everyone's gonna really hype this thing and be like screaming and be like, oh my god, Nika Nika, and so on. But I think no one is going to have the guts on YouTube to say, actually, the storyline, though, is stupid. Yeah, no one's going to have the guts to be like, you know what, but this is like a plot hole, right? Isn't this a plot hole? I have to be the one doing that. God damn it. Anyways, you guys have a great day.